They have the cover, but do they have the quality? What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Dominic Rich. If you're new around here and you love Champions League football, make sure you caress that subscribe button because I'll be covering the damn thing all season. And I'm starting from the qualifying rounds. Unlike everyone else, the qualifying rounds I think is very important. I started from the third qualifying round. Now I'm doing the playoffs. The match that I actually saw today is the first leg of the APOEL versus Ajax tie. There were two other fixtures happening at the same time between CFR Cluj of Romania and Slavia Praha of the Czech Republic, and the other match between LASK of Austria and Club Brugge of Belgium. The match between APOEL and Ajax finished in a 0-0 draw. It was not a dull 0-0 draw. APOEL, I think, had a really good game in front of their home crowd, and Erik ten Hag and Ajax should definitely be worried about this result because coming all the way from the second round of qualifying, APOEL has done well on the road. They may not have been super impressive at home, but on the road, they have been very clinical, winning all three of their matches. Remember, guys, in the third round, APOEL did lose their first match, which was a home game, but they traveled to Azerbaijan and defeated Karabakh to qualify for the playoffs, to face Ajax, who were in the Champions League semi-final last season and pulled off a very good 0-0 draw. So that means that Ajax failed to pick up that very valuable away goal. And APOEL has been scoring away goals, so it will be a very interesting second leg game which will be hosted by Ajax. And Ajax haven't really been playing so well at home in European competitions. Remember last season, their home form was really questionable. They even lost a semi-final against Tottenham at home after gaining an early advantage. So Erik ten Hag and Ajax will definitely be worried going into that second leg fixture. And when I say Ajax should be worried, they definitely should be worried. This APOEL team is a very gritty side. Despite losing core squad members in De Ligt, De Jong and LASK, this Ajax unit still looks very strong. On paper, that is. Deploying a 4-2-3-1 formation, Erik ten Hag chose to go in with Onana, who is still at the club, Mazraoui at right back, Tagliafico, Lisandro Martinez, their new defender, and Joel Veltman as one of the center halves. Like, yes, Joel Veltman played center half. Just ahead of them, two holding midfielders in Razvan Marin, who had a terrible game, and Daley Blind playing out of position. Neres, Tadic, Van de Beek, and Ziyech all marshaled the front line. So when I said Neres, Tadic, Van de Beek, and Ziyech, this is a very strong unit. This is almost the same team that made it to the Champions League semi-final last season, minus De Ligt, De Jong, and Schöne. And those three players are humongous links that are missed from this 11. And the absence was very telling on the day. For Thomas Dahl and APOEL, their 11 didn't look too daunting on paper. There was Uroš Matic, the brother of Nemanja Matic, Lucas de Souza, the Brazilian, who had a very solid game, and there was also Musa Altamari, the Jordanian international, who tormented the Ajax defenders. If only he was less selfish on the day, maybe APOEL could have picked up a very valuable win. Pavlovic, Bezjak, Mihailovic, and the goalkeeper Beret all had solid games for APOEL. Ajax started out the game very well, and Dusan Tadic almost scored in the 7th minute when he got on the end of a deflected cross and forced the goalkeeper Beret into a very good reflex save. In the first 15 minutes of the game, Ajax had already got off a barrage of shots at APOEL, but none found the back of the net. And I was saying to myself, oh man, it seems like Ajax are going to have a field day today against APOEL. But I was definitely wrong. After withstanding some early pressure, APOEL began to play themselves in the game, and they forced the Ajax players into committing 3 fouls that resulted in 3 yellows, and this was in the first 25 minutes of the game. And at that point, I knew someone was gonna get sent off later on. APOEL began to threaten, and they broke a few times on the counter, and almost scored. It was the Jordanian Musa Al-Tamari who was troubling Ajax the most. He got a brilliant chance, but he put it wide. Towards the back end of the first half, Ajax players were getting a bit unsettled, especially the Romanian Razvan Marin, who is playing the position of Frankie de Jong. And at that point, I was saying to myself, Ajax are really missing Frankie de Jong right now, and De Ligt, and Schöne, because they were missing his deliveries and Frankie de Jong, his passing range and his work rate and everything. The fact that he's so comfortable on the ball, he's so skillful, and Marin was none of that on the day. He was more nervous than a teenager on his first date. With APOEL threatening at the back end of the first half, I was very surprised the game was still level. APOEL came back for the second half with the same mind frame. They were attacking, breaking on the counter, and they were very solid in the middle of the field. The way they played this game, they just stifled Ajax. They weren't able to push the ball wide out to Ziyech and Neres, and Van de Beek in the middle did not have no space at all to run into. Tadic, he was lacking the service up top. But this is the way teams like APOEL play. They're very compact in the middle, they get numbers behind the ball, and they frustrate bigger teams. Around the 58th minute or so, APOEL broke on the counter again and almost scored. They forced a save out of Onana and the ball looped up, and Joel Veltman had to come to the rescue and head it out for a corner. The resulting corner almost ended up in the back of the net when APOEL struck the crossbar. That was a very close call for Ajax. They were playing with fire. The young American under 21 international Sergino Dest came on for Marin, who had a terrible game, but Ajax was still on the back foot. Joel Veltman was forced to put the ball behind after a dangerous ball came in from a corner, and then in the 69th minute or so, a beautiful left-footed shot by the Brazilian Sousa forced a wonderful save out of Onana, who had to come up big for Ajax on the day. I'm telling you, if it wasn't some brilliance from the Cameroonian international, Ajax would have conceded 2 to 3 goals on the day. Remember earlier when I said that Ajax were picking up yellow cards left, right, and center? Well, they picked up another crucial yellow, and that was Mazraoui picking up a second yellow and getting sent off. Ajax down to 10 men with 10 minutes to go. And this means that Mazraoui won't be available for the second leg at home, which means that Ajax would be a weaker team going into one of the most important matches of the season. This means that Joel Veltman will switch to right back. The young kid Dest might get a start instead of Marin. And, you know, Ajax will have to bring back Daley Blind in the back line. They have the cover, but do they have the quality? And also note, guys, Quincy Promes did not even take part in the game today. He is suffering from an injury. I don't know if he'll be fit for next week's game. So Ajax, man, they will be scratching their heads right now. Ajax chances were very few and far in between after, like, let's say the first 30 minutes of the game. They were outplayed. They were simply outplayed on the day. Huntelaar came on and almost scored. He got a chip shot saved off the line, but that was basically it. This Ajax team looked really stretched, I'm telling you. They look stretched, and I'm kind of worried for this team. I'm definitely worried for Erik ten Hag and his boys. I'm worried. I'm not an Ajax fan, but I followed them very closely last season, and I'm worried. I doubted Ajax last season though. I said they wouldn't qualify for the Champions League, and I don't want to get into the habit of doubting them over and over again. But they're missing the young De Ligt and Schöne. They're really missing these guys. They were not good. They weren't good on the day at all. They weren't good. APOEL dominated that game, and if they had a little bit more quality in their lineup, they would have won. 2-0. Al-Tamari has to be a bit less selfish, and, you know, that's about it. I don't really have much more criticism of the APOEL performance. It's just that Al-Tamari has to lift his head up and pass the freaking ball to his teammates. He can't play like that. He's fast, he got skills, but he can't continue playing like that, or it will hurt his team. Second leg, next week. Could Ajax bounce back? Could Ajax bounce back? I'm telling you, this APOEL team is very dangerous. They have been winning games on the road, and I'm talking about during the current Champions League qualifiers. So this spells trouble for Ajax. It definitely does. My prediction for the second leg, I'm going to stick with Ajax though. I did predict Ajax to move on to the Champions League. I am going to stick to Ajax and say they are going to win the game at home. But I must say this, there is a situation right now. There is a scenario where Ajax can get knocked out of the Champions League qualifiers and APOEL move on in their place. Ajax will then go down to the Europa League where they may fancy their chances of winning it. The last time they were in the Europa League, they went all the way to the final where they played Manchester United and lost. Some of these guys were even involved in that game. But I'm sticking to Ajax, but I'm going to say, APOEL, man, you played damn good, and I won't be surprised if you knock Ajax out and qualify for the Champions League. In the other fixture, CFR Cluj of Romania, who defeated Celtic to qualify for the playoffs against Slavia Praha. Slavia Praha won the game 1-0 and picked up that very valuable away goal, courtesy of a 28-minute strike by Masopust. That's a weird name. It's a very weird name. Masopust. I did predict CFR Cluj to qualify for the Champions League, but it seems like Slavia Praha may just take that place. But there's still a second round, so we will see what happens. In the other game, LASK of Austria, who defeated Basel in the last round against Club Brugge of Belgium, who smashed Dynamo Kiev. Well, they didn't actually smash Dynamo Kiev, that was me being dramatic. Club Brugge defeated LASK 1-0, courtesy of a 10th-minute penalty scored by Hans Vanaken. They pick up that very valuable away goal as well. But you can't count out LASK. They still have a second leg on the road to play, and they have shown that they got what it takes to defeat bigger teams. So LASK, they are still in the clash. But big talking point here is Ajax drawing away to APOEL. I am not surprised, but still, Ajax has to be worried. So guys, are we going to see any turnarounds in the second legs? Only time will tell. In tomorrow's fixtures, Dinamo Zagreb of Croatia takes on Rosenborg of Norway. I have to say Borg because someone corrected me and said that I said Berg, and it's not Berg, it's Borg. So Rosenborg of Norway. Olympiacos of Greece takes on Krasnodar of Russia. And I recently found out that Krasnodar never qualified for the Champions League. I didn't know that. And Young Boys of Bern, the champions of Switzerland, takes on the champions of Serbia, Crvena Zvezda. So guys, I'm your boy Dominic Rich, and that's my review of the APOEL versus Ajax fixture and a rundown of the other two games that was played on the day. If you're new around here, consider hitting the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, and in the comment section down below, let me know which team you support and the 6 teams you think will join the 26 that already qualified for the Champions League. So guys, until next time, I like to say thanks for watching. Peace out. Rich Squad. Woo.